Therese Johnson of Senior Care of Sacramento. Therese, how are you doing?
Hi, Jim. I'm doing good, and I want to thank you for sharing that poem. I love the dash. I'm going to be working on some of my dashes this week with getting to visit with two of my brothers who I haven't had a chance to have much time with.
Wow. Well, this is great. Well, I hope you get some quality time, and I'm sure you will. Now, today, I know we have a very special topic. We're going to be talking about a few of the 4 myths related to advanced directives, and basically, this is a very important thing to understand, and what we want to do is just really understand them because there are myths about advanced directives, and so I want to turn it over to you to talk about this. Now, first off, I just want, for those of us that are unaware, for you to share what an advanced directive is.
So basically, they're any legal documents that will tell others what to do if something should happen to you.
Okay.
And, they can be advanced directives can be several different documents, including a living will and a medical power of attorney. But you need to make sure that your wishes are carried out if you become incapacitated, and that's what these documents do for you.
Great. And I know about the Advanced Healthcare Directives. They're very important to get in place, especially if somebody is still a little cognizant. It's the best time to do it, to put it in place before your loved one is not really cognizant anymore. So if you can tell us a little bit about the 3 of the 4, please.
Yeah, and absolutely, like you said, when you're growing older and you start considering things like nursing homes or assisted living, possibly hospice, then it's vital that you have the proper medical advance directive in place. The problem is there's quite a bit of confusion about advance directives and what they can or cannot do. And as a result, some people have been fearful of having the documents drawn up. But one of the myths is that an advance directive is not valid if the state forms aren't filled out. But in actuality, the vast majority of states don't even have forms. So that's not something you really have to worry about. As long as you have the advance directives written down and completed, then doctors are obligated to follow them. There really are no state forms to fill out to make them legally valid. So that's one of the myths. And then the second myth is that advance directives are always legally binding. And that's not necessarily true. If a doctor determines that something would be medically inappropriate or would go against their conscience as a caregiver, then they can choose not to follow your advance directives. So basically, the directive is designed to give your doctor protection from the family if they follow through with your wishes. So that's the second myth, and another reason why it's so important to have them in place.
And what is the third? You can't leave us hanging too much here. At least one more. We have a few more minutes.
Okay. The third myth is that treatment will only be stopped if I have a living will. And some people don't want to continue treatment when they're near the end of life. So if you're one of these people, then keep in mind that you don't technically need a living will for this to happen. However, your family members will be the ones making the decision, and that could mean disputes and stress for them and your siblings fighting or whoever is your power of attorney or not. And so by having a living will in place, everything will already be decided because you'll have already said what your wishes are.
Now, let me ask you this. You say that a medical professional on the second one, that they can override the decision. Is that correct? Did I hear you correct?
Yes, a doctor can. That's true.
Okay, and let me ask you this. I know it's very important to put things into place before a situation happens, but what sort of situations have you been through where you haven't seen the right things put into place?
Well, for example, one family, the son had power of attorney and had the mother's Advanced Healthcare Directive where she had explicitly said that she didn't want to be kept alive on life support or have any heroic measures or feeding tubes or anything like that. Well, she had a stroke and the paramedics came and they brought her back to life, but her brain was dead. So they put her on a feeding tube, and the son wasn't real clear on what her wishes were. That's another thing that's really important. You need to make sure that the person you give power of attorney to really understands what their job is. And so she was kept alive feeding tube, but her brain was dead for a few more days, and then finally, after he realized that was not her wish, he took her off. But if he had understood that to begin with, the family, basically all the other brothers and sisters, had to watch her kind of die 2 times. So they wouldn't have been put through that emotional stress and that lingering of the whole situation. It could have been resolved immediately if he'd understood her wishes.
It is very important. One of the things that I was talking to some other professionals, licensed in the arena of just financial services, and working with seniors is really different. You have to be a lot more careful, which is really important because I try to really take a lot of care, make sure there's a third party there as well to validate things. And it's so easy, unfortunately, for people to take advantage of seniors. And I think getting these things in place are so very important. Even families with good intentions, I've seen them really go awry because the right things were not put into place. I know there were some cases where should somebody be kept alive on life support or not. These different directives that if you put them in place and you have someone's wishes and desires in front of you, they really help. And so I encourage people, one practical I would love to give people is if you're getting older in years, even if you're younger, write out what you would want people to remember about you. Now, that is just something that when you do pass, it could just be read. And I know there are some things that I want to be remembered by. And that way, people know exactly what you want to express and what your life meant and what you wanted to convey. So I'd encourage you, take out a piece of paper, write that down, and contact somebody like Therese Johnson to put some things in place in terms of potential placement or just what your alternatives are in terms of potentially a facility or just how you should go about planning and what sort of things you should look for as signs for when you should make certain moves. Any final things you want to share, Therese, before we move on?
Well, just like you said, Jim, I want people to make sure that they communicate their wishes really clearly so that you can ensure everything is carried out how you would like now and in the future. And I do have Advanced Healthcare Directives available. If people have been putting that off, getting it done, they can email me, and I'll be happy to email them the document.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And how can people reach you? I believe I've been directing them to Senior Care of Sacramento. Is that where they could find you?
Yep, .com, or if you want to email me for the document, it's seniorcareofsacramento@gmail.com.
Great.